It's a sunny morning. Bluey and Bingo are getting ready to play. Dad, let's play Keepy Uppy. Bluey calls out. Bandit sits on the couch. He stares straight ahead. There's no smile on his face, no frown. He just stares. Dad, Bingo repeats. Bandit slowly turns his head towards them. Keepy Uppy. Yes. His voice is flat, devoid of any intonation. He stands up and begins to move. His movements seem too smooth, too predictable, as if he's following instructions. Chili enters the room carrying a plate of fruit. Breakfast is ready. She doesn't sing, as usual, doesn't joke. She just places the plate on the table. Her eyes are empty. Bluey and Bingo look at each other. Mom, did you forget our breakfast song? Bluey asks. Chili slowly blinks. Breakfast song? Oh yes, the breakfast song. She doesn't try to sing, doesn't remember, she just states it. The day continues. Bluey and Bingo try to play with their parents, but the games bring no joy. Bandit plays Burger Shop, but his reactions are programmed. He doesn't laugh when the food falls on the floor, doesn't make silly faces when it's yucky. Chili doesn't react to their antics. When Bingo accidentally spills juice, Chili simply takes a cloth and wipes it up. Without a reprimand, without a sigh of disappointment, without comfort. Just an action. Mom, aren't you cross? Bingo asks. Cross? Why? Chili replies. Her voice is devoid of emotion. It's unsettling. Bluey remembers how her parents used to be so lively, so real. Now they're like mannequins. In the evening before bed, Bluey tries to hug Dad. He stands there allowing himself to be hugged but doesn't hug back. His body is stiff, lifeless. Dad, do you love me? Bluey asks, feeling tears welling up in her eyes. Love. Yes. The answer is mechanical, without warmth. Bluey and Bingo lie in their beds. The silence in the house is oppressive. It's not just quiet, it's lifeless. From their parents' room, there's no usual mumbling or whispering, only complete emptiness. Bingo turns to Bluey. Her eyes are wide with fear. Bluey, I feel it. What? Bluey whispers. I don't want to play. I don't want to laugh. I don't want to do anything. Bingo's voice becomes flat like their parents. Her eyes begin to dull. Bluey feels it too. A coldness spreading within, dulling all emotions. She tries to laugh, tries to feel joy, but her laughter sounds hollow and joy feels alien. She looks at her paws. They seem colorless. Morning. Bluey wakes up. The house is silent. Too silent. No one is singing, no one is calling out. She sees Bandit and Chili sitting at the table. They stare straight ahead. Their faces are calm, their eyes are empty. Bingo sits next to them. She also stares straight ahead. Her eyes are empty without any emotions. Bluey feels the last flicker of light inside her extinguish. She no longer feels fear, no longer feels sadness, feels nothing. She walks to the table and sits beside them. Her gaze becomes just as empty. The room is bathed in morning light, but nothing seems alive. Everyone simply exists. It was a sunny morning, but a strange sense of boredom hung heavy in the Healer household. Bluey and Bingo roamed aimlessly, unable to settle on a game. No amount of chasing or hide-and-seek could spark their usual joy. Bluey remembered a dusty old cupboard where Bandit had recently put some things. Inside the cluttered cupboard, tucked behind forgotten boxes and toys, they found it. A bulky, ancient television set. Its screen was convex, the casing scratched, as if it had survived countless forgotten years. Curiosity won out. Somehow they found a suitable outlet and plugged it in. The TV crackled, glowed blue, and then the familiar Bluey title sequence appeared on the screen. But something was wrong. The colors were dull, as if faded, the sound slightly distorted, and the title music strangely sorrowful and drawn out. The episode began. It was titled 1. On screen, Bluey and Bingo appeared, but they were eerily silent, their eyes seeming empty. They simply sat in their room, staring out a window where a strange gray storm raged beyond the glass. A storm that never existed in their vibrant world. The longer they watched, the more their own room changed around them. Colors faded, turning as gray as those on the screen. Sounds from the television, the howling wind, strange, quiet sighs began to merge with the sounds of their own room. The air grew colder, bringing with it the smell of dust and something stale, as if they themselves had stepped inside the old cupboard. The figures of Bluey and Bingo on screen now seem to be looking directly at them, with the same chilling emptiness in their eyes. Suddenly, the TV Bluey slowly raised a paw and pressed it against the screen. In that very instant, the real Bluey felt an icy touch on her cheek. The screen flickered, the image distorted, and instead of TV Bluey, there was now only her own frightened reflection superimposed on the gray, raging world. Bingo, eyes wide, also saw her reflection, pale, distorted, as if she was being pulled into the screen. On the screen, behind their reflections, that same pale, gaunt silhouette with huge empty eye sockets slowly materialized. It stood directly behind their TV versions, and its gaze seemed to pierce through the screen, directly into their souls. The room finally darkened completely, plunging into the same gloom as outside the window in the missing episode. The girls lunged for the TV, trying to pull the plug, but it seemed to be fused into the outlet. The screen pulsed and a nasty clinging cold began to envelop them. Their bodies felt weightless, being pulled forward. In the last moment before their vision blurred, they saw their parents Chili and Bandit on the screen. But they were as gray and silent as the Bluey and Bingo from the missing episode. Their eyes were empty too. The world spun and the girls felt a sensation of falling. When they could finally open their eyes, they were surrounded by the same gray raging storm they had seen on the screen. And in their own room on the couch sat two figures, silent, unmoving, with empty eyes. They stared out the window where a strange gray storm raged beyond the glass. And on the old dusty television, the familiar Bluey title sequence began again. But this time the episode was titled 2. It all starts like an ordinary day. Bluey and Bingo are playing hide and seek at home. Bandit is it. They run, laugh, hide under the table behind the curtains. Then it's Bingo's turn. She climbs into the closet under the stairs. The door closes behind her on its own. In the darkness, she notices someone standing in the corner of the closet. A tall, thin figure almost blending in with the wall. Bingo blinks and the figure is gone. She crawls out, scared. She doesn't tell anyone. The next day they play hide and seek again. This time Bluey hides in the closet. It's quiet inside. She suddenly looks into the corner. It seems like someone is standing there, but it's all in shadows. Impossible to make out. On the floor lies an unfamiliar toy, long limbs, and empty face. They never had one like that. She doesn't take it. Later, Bandit says, "Today our guest is hiding." Everyone laughs, but Bingo suddenly falls silent. She asks who he meant. Bandit replies, "Well, he's been playing with us." Chili turns away and continues cooking without commenting. During the next round of the game, Bluey peeks into the pantry. She doesn't remember it ever being so full of shadows. On the shelf, the same toy is there again. Paw prints are visible on the floor. They lead behind a cabinet. When Bluey checks, the cabinet is empty. At dinner, Bandit says, "Our guest hides well. We hardly ever see him." Chili nods silently. Bingo asks, "Will he stay long?" No one answers. Only the clinking of cutlery is heard. That evening, Bluey goes to the bathroom. In the mirror for a split second, a tall silhouette appears behind her. She turns, no one is there. Then she finds a note on the floor as if torn from a children's book. The handwriting is unfamiliar. The paper smells of dust. At night, Bluey wakes up. She hears a creak. She goes into the hallway. At the door to the closet, a shadow. Tall, thin. Bluey doesn't move. The shadow disappears. She approaches the door, opens it. Empty. Just the old toy on the floor. She picks it up. Final scene. Morning. Everyone is having breakfast. Bingo is drawing. Chili smiles. Bandit sits in a chair. Bluey is silent. The camera lingers on a family photograph hanging on the wall. Between Bandit and Bluey, another figure stands. Its face is blurred as if the film is damaged. Bluey turns her head toward the camera and says, "He's always played with us. You just never noticed." The screen goes dark. No, the end. No credits. Bluey opened her eyes. Sunlight filled the room, streaming through the familiar curtains. Her gaze darted to the door. Bingo sat on the floor, calmly gathering toys, her voice chiming. "Bluey, let's play Shadow Hunters." The same words, the same cheerful tone. Bluey's heart plummeted. It was the same morning. Again. She remembered yesterday, every single moment. How she woke up, how Bingo called her, how they went to play Shadow Hunters. And then, she remembered. The bushes, the cold, the feeling that no one was looking for her. It had happened again. And again. Bluey tried to stifle the rising terror. She had to change something. "No, Bingo!" The words caught in her throat, but she forced them out. Let's play Chasey instead." She hoped a different game would break the chain. Bingo tilted her head slightly, blinked. "Oh, okay. I'm it." Familiar words, spoken with a new chilling precision. And Bingo ran towards the backyard. Bluey bolted after her, at first feeling a faint flicker of hope. They ran around the garden, Bingo's laughter sounding as it always did, but to Bluey it became a distant, unsettling chime. She tried not to look at that corner where the trees and bushes intertwined into a dark mass. Then, inevitably, she felt a sharp pain in her paw, tripping over an unseen obstacle. Her body hit the ground. The familiar smell of old leaves and damp earth filled her nostrils. She lay there gasping, feeling the cold seep into her bones. The same bushes surrounded her, the same tangled branches. And silence. Bingo didn't call for her. No one called for her. Bluey lifted her head, her gaze involuntarily drawn to the furthest corner of the garden. There, barely discernible amidst the deepening shadows yet utterly real, sat that same pale, gaunt silhouette with huge empty eye sockets. It simply watched. She lay there, feeling the icy chill penetrate her very core. She wasn't being searched for, no one was looking, just like yesterday, just like the day before. The loop tightened and Bluey understood she was trapped within it forever. It's a sunny day. Bluey and Bingo are playing treasure hunt in the backyard. Bingo trips over something. Beneath the fallen leaves they find a small wooden door. It looks old, covered in moss, as if it had never been there before. The door is slightly ajar. Beyond it there's darkness. "What's that?" Bingo whispers. Bluey carefully pushes the door open. A narrow dark passage is revealed leading down stone steps. From below a faint mournful whisper drifts up. "Hello," Bluey calls. A voice from below answers. It's a child's voice. It sounds as if it's calling for help, but the words are indistinct. Bluey looks at Bingo. "There's someone down there." Bingo steps back. "I'm scared." Bandit and Chili call them for lunch. "We found a door!" Bluey shouts. Bandit walks over. He looks at the spot where the door should be. A door. "There's no door here, girls, just old leaves." He sweeps the leaves away. Nothing, just dirt. Bluey and Bingo exchange puzzled glances. The next day, while their parents are distracted, Bluey and Bingo return to the backyard. The door is there. It's ajar again. The whisper from inside is a little louder, more desperate. Bluey cautiously peeks inside. The staircase descends into endless darkness. "Help me!" cries a child's voice. "I'm coming!" Bluey says, and she starts to descend. Bingo grabs her paw. "No, it's dangerous!" But Bluey is already pulling her along. With each step down, the light from above dims. The air grows colder. The whisper from below transforms into a multi-voiced wail. It surrounds them, seemingly coming from everywhere. Bingo begins to sob. "I want to go home." Bluey turns to go back up. But the opening at the top already seems infinitely far away. A tiny speck of light. The steps they take upwards don't bring them closer to the exit. The sounds from above their parents' voices. The usual noises of the house become increasingly muffled, indistinct. They seem to dissolve. "We can't go back!" Bingo cries. Bluey feels a rising terror. The wailing from below intensifies, merging into a single mournful chorus. It presses down, envelops them. Bluey tries to scream. Her voice also sounds weak, distorted, as if it doesn't belong to her. She feels her legs growing tired. They can't go any further down. But they can't go back up either. The shadows on the stairwell walls begin to move, taking on vague, grotesque shapes. They reach out towards them. The children's voices from below turn into moans, full of despair. "We're stuck here forever," Bingo whispers. Her voice trembles. Bluey looks down. There, in the infinite darkness, she sees thousands of glowing points, thousands of eyes fixed upon them. Bluey collapses to her knees. She feels something pulling her down, not physically but mentally. Her will drains away. She hears her own voice merging with the chorus of weeping children. "Help me!" Now she too calls out. Bingo clings to her, but her grip weakens. The last ray of light from above completely vanishes. Around them is only absolute all-consuming darkness. The endless steps continue downwards and the wailing never stops. Bluey and Bingo become part of that wailing, part of that endless descent. Their own voices now are just another echo in the bottomless void. The sunny day was slowly fading over the healer backyard, but Bluey and Bingo's lively game of shadow hunters continued. Their giggles drifted to Chili, who was sipping tea on the veranda, and to Bandit, who was wrestling with a broken garden hose. Evening shadows lengthened, casting strange dancing figures across the lawn. Suddenly, Bingo froze. Her gaze was fixed on the furthest corner of the garden, where old tree branches and thick bushes merged into a single dark mass. There, amidst the deepening twilight, something had appeared. It was a pale, hairless, unnaturally thin figure, almost translucent, as if carved from the very shadows themselves. It squatted pressed close to the ground, and two enormous empty eye sockets stared directly at the children. Bluey felt the fur on her neck prickle. This was unlike any animal they knew, unlike anything they had ever seen. It was wrong, alien. The figure didn't move, but its intense gaze felt physical, piercing through the distance, through the bushes, right into their souls. The sensation of being watched was all-consuming. Bandit, noticing his frozen daughters, approached, squinting. He peered into the spot they indicated but saw only old leaves and an overturned garden gnome. "There's nothing here, girls," he said, picking up the gnome. Bluey and Bingo exchanged uneasy glances. They knew what they had seen, and it was no gnome. The entire evening passed under a cloud of unspoken unease. The girls kept glancing out the window, trying to discern something in the darkening garden. When they finally went to bed, Bluey pressed close to Bingo. Both felt an inexplicable cold seeping through the walls of the house. Deep in the night, Bluey woke up. The room was engulfed in an icy chill, even though the window was tightly closed. She barely opened her eyes and saw it. The same figure was sitting in the corner of the room right by their bed. It squatted, its long thin limbs oddly bent, and its huge dark eyes were fixed on Bluey. Fear paralyzed Bluey. She couldn't move, couldn't make a sound. The creature was absolutely silent, yet its presence filled every corner of the room, making the air thick and suffocating. It simply watched, seemingly trying to read her thoughts, to penetrate the darkest corners of her mind. It wasn't just terrifying, it was draining, sucking all the strength from her, leaving only helplessness and panic. Bingo snored peacefully beside her, while Bluey lay unable to tear her gaze from the abyss in the creature's eyes. Time ceased to exist. Bluey didn't know how long it had been there. Morning. Bluey wakes up and looks at her bed. Strange. Plush Humpty usually lay on the right, but now he's on the left and he looks dull. Gray, as if covered in dust. Bingo sits on the floor examining her blocks. One of them, a bright red one, now appears almost black. She picks it up. Something like soot remains on her fingers. Bingo frowns. What's this? Bandit walks into the room stretching. His favorite mug is on the table, but it also has dark stains. He runs his finger over them. Soot. It won't wipe off. That's odd. It's brand new. Chili descends the stairs. My favorite rug by the front door has some marks on it, as if it hasn't been cleaned in 100 years. The house slowly changes. The children's beloved drawings on the walls now look old and yellowed, as if time has settled upon them. Bluey picks up her album. She flips through pages of photos. Here they are at the beach. The sun is bright, the sand golden. But now the sand is gray, the sky pale white. Their parents' faces when they laughed have become blurry. Mom, Dad, we were here, weren't we? Chili looks at the photograph. Were we? Of course we were. I remember that we were. But somehow, I can't remember exactly how. Bandit shrugs. It was a long time ago, I suppose. Things get forgotten. The family sits down for breakfast. Bluey tries to recall how they played chef yesterday. She remembers the laughter, Dad's jokes, but the details slip away. Her parents' faces become increasingly indistinct in her memory. Bingo tries to talk about her new favorite game. We played hide and seek with someone, I don't remember. Her voice sounds uncertain. New stains appear on their favorite toys. The toys look old, worn, as if they've been used for decades. But they're quite new. At night, Bluey wakes up. The house is silent, too silent. Even the usual night sounds are absent. She looks at the wall. Where their family collage once hung, there is now just an empty gray wall. Not just empty. It's as if it had never been anything else. Bluey quietly crawls to her parents' bed. Bandit and Chili are sleeping. Their faces are calm, but there's no trace of joy in them. Their expressions are empty as if wiped clean. Bluey softly calls, "Mom, Dad." They don't answer. Bluey begins to cry. She looks at her paws. Gray, blurry stains appear on them too. She runs to the mirror. Her own reflection becomes increasingly dim. She can barely make out her eyes. She forgets beloved games, forgets Bingo's laughter, forgets Dad's hugs, forgets the warmth of Mum's hands. The house sinks into a deep gray silence. Everything becomes uniform, featureless, empty. Bluey stands in the middle of the room. She no longer remembers why she is there. She no longer remembers who she is. Around her there is only a silent, rusty void. Early morning, the healer house is quiet. Outside the light is soft but strangely dim. Bingo wakes up in her bed. Everything looks normal, but the house is too quiet. Only the ticking of a clock can be heard. She goes downstairs. The living room is empty. The TV is off. Toys are scattered as if someone had just been playing but suddenly disappeared. The kitchen is empty too. Dad isn't making pancakes and Mum isn't preparing tea. A plate with a half-eaten piece of toast sits on the table and a mug is half full. There's no steam rising from it. Bingo calls out, "Mum! Dad! Bluey!" But her voice sounds muffled like through a pillow. There's no echo. She walks down the hallway. The floor creaks under her paws. Bluey's room is empty. The bed is neatly made with a bow on the pillow. Her drawings hang on the wall, but some are torn or scratched out with black lines. The floor begins to tremble slightly. Bingo goes to the bathroom. At first, her reflection in the mirror matches her movements, but then it starts to lag behind. Then it begins moving on its own. It tilts its head and smiles. Bingo stares at it for a few seconds, then quickly turns away and runs. On the stairs, she glimpses a figure running through the hallway on the opposite side of the house. It looks like Bluey, but its movements are jerky like a broken toy. The door it disappeared behind is locked when she reaches it. She goes outside. The grass is gray. There are no shadows. In the distance stands Bluey, facing away. Bingo approaches, but the figure vanishes with a soft click. There's no wind, no birds, complete silence. On the spot where Bluey stood, only her collar remains. Bingo walks into her parents' bedroom. The light is ashen. Mum and Dad lie on the bed. They don't move. Their eyes are open and unblinking. Bingo touches Dad's paw. He turns his head, but his eyes stay glassy. His mouth is slightly open, but no sound comes out. Mum seems to whisper something, but her lips don't move. Bingo is back in her room. She sits on the bed and hugs her stuffed bear. A quiet voice whispers her name from the corner, softer and softer. She looks, only her toy is there. A shadow appears on the floor, as if someone is standing directly behind her, but when she turns around, no one's there. The nightlight on the wall flickers. Outside the window, a silhouette appears shaped like Bluey, moving in jittery, unnatural motions like an old film. The silhouette suddenly rushes toward the window. The light in the room goes out. After silence, Bingo is back in bed. Everything seems calm. Mum enters and strokes her head. She says, "Time to wake up." Bingo doesn't respond. Her eyes are open. In the background, a mirror shows no reflection of Mum. The scene freezes. Several seconds of stillness. Then the screen shows Bluey's empty room. A TV in the corner is on, flashing a black and white image of the family sitting at a table. Their heads are bowed. The picture flickers and vanishes. The final shot, the closet door in Bingo's room is slightly ajar. Breathing can be heard from inside. There is no voiceover, no credits, only silence. And then slowly the image of Bingo's stuffed bear left on the floor appears on the screen. What happened next is unknown.